but he's letting me go solo today because I'm going to talk about a subject that I've given a speech about before that I thought would be really useful for us today. So I'm going to dive right into our Feed Your Brand episode and our topic. And we're going to do something a little fun today that I've got some examples. I've even got a download for us afterwards. So you want to stay till the end. And I'm going to do a little bit of a side share so I can show you some examples and things. So hang on, make sure you have your videos on and checking out the resources that we're going to be providing all along the way. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Feed Your Brand. I'm Tracy Hazzard. And along with my co-host, Tom Hazzard, normally we cover great topics that are helpful to podcast hosts everywhere in all types of businesses and all types of promotion issues that you might have. And today we're talking about just that. So this is for you podcasters out there who have guests on your show or have heard about the power of having a guest on your show, but haven't quite dipped into that yet and are thinking about it. And then for some of you, those of you who might have an entertainment style show where you don't have guests, you just have topics, this is maybe the reason why it is so much harder for you to grow your listening audience. And that is because when we use guest promotion, we leverage other people's audiences. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about how you can propel your show to new heights with some of these advanced guest promotion tactics that we use internally. They help grow listeners faster. They have a much higher rate of return. And we've discovered this the hard way. I actually discovered this the hard way because I used to write a column for Inc. magazine. For 4 years, I did it. I wrote over 400 articles. And it shocked me how many people would get featured in one of my articles and then would improperly share the article. So you can imagine if they're not doing that with publicists and team and high value corporations, and they don't know how to share properly. Imagine your solopreneur guests, your entrepreneurs, the people who are all on their own, don't really have team. They're not going to be great at sharing either. And so that's why a lot of these tips were developed and my process was developed. So I'm going to share my screen for those of you who aren't watching your video. You might want to turn that on right now and let me get to the proper screen share. There you go. And the reason I'm doing this because, this isn't a webinar or anything like that, but I want to share some images that have come from a webinar I've given on this topic before. So this is one of the ones that I want you to see. This is what I developed right after writing that article for Inc. magazine. And you can see on the far right here, I've got a little quote that I did that came out of one of my Inc. articles. And you can see how it sort of transformed itself to the ones on the left into the podcasting world. And what happens here is we call this ego bait. And the reason we call it ego bait is because it plays on the ego of your guest to want to share it. When I quote my guest, like the one in the middle here that says, that is a quote from Pat Flynn that says, guest podcasting is the new guest blogging. While that quote, he actually said that on my show. And that quote is really valuable to my listeners and my viewers and my social media followers because it's talking about podcasting. What if that's not his core business? What if his core business is on building a digital webinar platform? So this seems like something he said, but it's not a completely relevant quote to the things he wants to promote today. And it's a quote of him talking about himself. So it may be not something that he's likely to share. However, the one on the left of that says, Pat Flynn is one of the best teachers, not just for podcasting, but for creating a whole digital business, that's pretty flattering. I really stroked his ego there. But not only that, I knew that he's working on building a business that's around building a digital business and not just a podcast coaching platform. And so I knew this would tap into something that he would want. So by doing these things, by highlighting them, or by creating what you would consider to be a testimonial style quote, you're creating a higher opportunity for sharing by your guest. And that gives you higher authority. The other thing that happens is see how my picture and Pat Flynn's picture, or my picture and Kimmy Seltzer or Ashley Crowder's picture are side by side or top and bottom next to each other here in this image, then it's creating a visual side-by-side authority that puts us at the same level. So if your guest is someone who's more important in your niche, more popular in your niche, a higher authority than you, by using this tactic, you're visually creating the link between the two of you at the same level. That's pretty powerful, but goes one step further because I'm saying something about that other person. I'm creating the testimonial, that referral in the way, that statement about them. I actually have higher authority because I'm a reviewer, right? So think about it from like a movie review or anything like that. The person who has the most power is the critic, not the actual movie theater, not the movie publishing company, not the actors, right? The critic has the most power because they can love it or pan it, right? So that puts you actually at a higher authority level by using this style of ego bait quoting. So this is essential. This is our number one thing that we do. And here's the next part of it. When we do it, we send something we call an embed code, a website embed code. And we do that because it helps to create the proper linking. One of the things I was mentioning when I did my ink column before, people would link the ink logo on their press page and link to ink.com. They would forget that there's an article that actually says their name way buried in the publication because they have thousands of articles they publish every single day. And if they didn't connect that exact proper link to that exact featured page, nobody could find out what was said about them. So we've created a process, and we do this where we're sending them an exact link to the blog post with that ego bait image, and it's all connected together so they could just drop it properly onto their website. If they don't know what they're doing, we gave them code. They can give it to their web developer. Their web developer goes, oh, that's easy, drops it in, and 2 seconds later, it's created the proper linking. But the most important part that it's doing is creating this cross-linking. So that gets you website impact because you're showing up on their website, and cross-linking to you because they're showing up on your site. So you're creating that very obvious connection between the authority that you've built between the two of you through the podcast, but you're creating that in web linking as well. That gives you powerful web rankings, which is really the most important thing, but it also gives you this visibility. When you start to show up in those rankings, it validates your authority level, which is really important in this world of AI, that you have a higher human authority level. And this is something that Google really considers a power play. When you have this cross-linking between two websites, and of course, added the video, added the audio, you've got all those things going that says that you really are connected, that this isn't a fake link. This isn't one of those, sleazy little gray hat or black hat backlinks. This is real connection between the two of you. They treat that much more powerfully, and they give you higher rankings, which means that your podcast is getting seen. That blog post is likely hitting to the top 10 and maybe on the first page of Google, maybe even one of the top 3 up there. That's going to create a higher opportunity for you to be seen and for your podcast to be found by listeners, and especially listeners who are already fans of the guests that you had on your show. So the next level of that is to so we've taken it and we've created an image that shows authority. We've put it into our website, very important. Now we got to bring the social media to it. Now we got to create the social tagging and collaboration, because if we don't tell people who's in our image, who we interviewed, we don't tag them, we don't reach their audience. And then we don't grow our listener base by using their audience. So you can do this through 2 ways: the proper use of social tags. So at tags and hashtags, use both. Depends on your social media platform, which one's more powerful, but for the most part, use both hashtags and at tags. And if there is not, so let's say somebody isn't really powerful on LinkedIn, they're great on TikTok, but they're not powerful on LinkedIn, and they don't really have a LinkedIn profile, use the hashtag of their name. Use an at whenever you can, though, because that creates a direct profile to profile connection between the two of you. And on some social media, like Instagram, you can create a collab by tagging them, by doing an @ and that person. It creates a message back and forth to them asking, do they want to collab with you? And then there's an automatic sharing of their audience, of all of the people who are subscribed to them or members with them or likes them. It creates that tight connection for you. So you don't have to do all the work. So that's really wonderful. And it's a super easy way for you to make the connections between the two of you on social media and maximize the audience that's going to see your social posts. And then, of course, the last one that I don't want you to forget is resharing, because just sharing it once is not enough. Just saying, hey, I had this guest on my show, and then never doing it again is not really maximizing the power of what you've created. Your podcast lives on. It stays in that feed and it still gets listens month over month over month. Imagine if you could maximize that connection between the two of you, that you could keep reminding people who are new to you, who just joined your social profiles, who just found your podcast, how important that episode is. Well, we can only do that if we share it enough, and resharing is caring. And that's what I look at that. It also builds a better long-term relationship with your guest, which is going to get you more. So I have something I call the 42x sharing plan, and it has the maximum. I mean, I've maximized this thing, and you can get 42 different shares from just 7 types of posts. And that is something that is really powerful. So I create 7 different posts, 7 different styles. The ego bait is one. Video clips, I create a couple of those. A quote graphic might be another. But by the time you're done with it and you've got it now rematching in evergreen, you can have up to 7 days a week of posts. So imagine if you have 5 social media platforms, 7 different shares a week, 42 times, you can grow it even more. So sharing, also consistency, is really key in the sharing algorithms on social media. So if I continue to post once a day, every day on my social media without having to create more than 7 to begin with, but I can keep repeating that across the plan, then I am going to be more likely to tap into a great algorithmic boost on social media as well. Consistency and constancy works on web linking, on websites, on Google Power. It works on social media. It works in the algorithm for the podcast and video casts as well. So everywhere you go, this is your number one goal, is to be consistent and constant. And this is a way to do that. So I've got this social sharing plan for you that shows you. I've got it 2 ways. I'm going to show it to you in just a minute, but I've got it 2 ways. I've got the blank for you to fill in, and it kind of gives you an idea of how it works. And you can plan out your own social media channels. You might only have 1 social media channel to start with. That's okay. Do what you can. And then as you add one, you can add one to this chart, and you can add the 3rd, and you can continue on. You can always get this straight from the chat here. If you're in Zoom and one of our clients on Podetize, you're able to get that straight in the Zoom training that we're doing and live streaming from. If you are a Podetize client, you can reach out to the success team or the help team and get this. We have a tip library. We have a YouTube live streams, and the tips will be also downloadable from all of those as well. So you can go to podetize.com/tips and be able to be forwarded right there to be able to get that. So these are here for you. So if you're not one of our clients, you'll still be able to access it and see it. I am going to share with you real quick. I got to stop share and share again. I'm going to share with you the filled in one now, so you can kind of see what this looks like and get a better view of it. So I've got your schedule up here. So I would do 1 post a day. Now I've given you Twitter or Threads is the same thing, because whatever you do on Twitter, you can do on Threads. That's the new Instagram version of Twitter. So if you're interested in finding something new on that, this is one. They actually do recommend more than 1 post a day over on Threads, mind you. And they do recommend that on Twitter as well. You could do 7 times a day. It's totally up to you what you want to do. Is this, if you're going to go all in on Twitter and do 7 posts a day and do nothing else, go ahead and do that. The choice is yours. Instagram, 1 post a day, 7 days a week. So I'm giving you the frequency and the schedule here for all of it. I've also linked through. So when you actually go to the PDF, you'll be able to link through to the images of what these look like or our descriptions of them. So you'll be able to just sort of check out what one of these looks like. What does an ego bait guest look like? What does episode art look like? What does quote graphic look like? Video clip. You should know what those are, but you can see what they look like from a Instagram, YouTube Shorts, or TikTok view if you want. The video clip for 1 to 3 minutes, typically more used on LinkedIn as a different place. And then my 7th one is an evergreen, because remember I told you before that I always want to make sure to re-promote podcasts. I'm resharing episodes that have already happened. So now when I go down, and you can see how nicely filled in this is, and it's got 42 different shares of the episode. And what I'm doing is I'm offsetting it. So if I start with Ego Bait on a Monday on LinkedIn, I might post it on a Twitter on Tuesday, Instagram on Wednesday, Facebook on Thursday. So I'm not actually sharing the same exact post everywhere on social media. I'm sliding it here by a day. So same posts, same type of shares, they're just moved so that they're not happening on the exact same day everywhere. I think that's a mistake that people make, is that, look, I might be on LinkedIn and Instagram in the same day. And if I see the exact same type of post with the same exact language and the same information to you, I'm like, oh, they're just papering it everywhere. But you're also missing out on an opportunity to understand, where is your boost coming from? If you're getting more of a boost from posting an ego bait on Monday on LinkedIn, and you see more followers from that, it starts to tell you what's working and what's playing, because within each channel, you can look at your statistics, you can look at your analytics for there. And so that's going on there. And then because some of these channels don't use video clips that are over a minute, or some of the other things, you might see on my chart here that I've done 2 evergreens in those cases. So I do 2 evergreens on Twitter, 2 evergreens in Pinterest and TikTok. And that's because they don't allow these longer videos. And so instead of that, I reshare something else. And it gives me an opportunity to share some more, because those they're busy. TikTok and Twitter are really busy. So resharing more frequently over there is not a bad thing. So that's how it works. And it's super easy for you to just plug this in by using our blank version that I've got for you as well. And you'll be able to download those right here in the chat for those of you on Zoom. And again, podetize.com/tips to all of you watching this on the live stream or listening to it in the podcast. And if you're listening to it in the podcast, go check out the video cast, which that link will also get you straight there. So thanks everyone for listening to Feed Your Brand. I'm Tracy Hazzard, and I will be back next time with a special guest next week. I've got an author expert coming in to talk about how you use podcasting and author platforms. And I'm super excited to have Juliet Dillon Clark on next week with us. So she's going to be on next week, and then we'll be back. Tom and I will be back on the other side of that with a joint topic together. So thanks everyone for listening. I'll be back next time right here on Feed Your Brand. Let me stop the live stream. And for those of you on live stream, thanks for staying with us. We hope you'll join us at Podetize and come and join our Zoom, where you can ask questions and answers about everything you've just seen and heard, and also anything that's a burning question for you about your podcast or about marketing and growing your show. Thanks.